business, and if you want to start a business or any application, first everything we start with the SDLC, software development life cycle. So in SDLC we have different phases. No, do you remember the different phases? What is that? First is requirement analysis. Requirement gathering, like planning, right? Analysis, design, coding, right? And then deploying, maintaining, managing everything, right? And then later also in this SDLC we have majorly three models. What are those three models? Waterfall model, agile model, DevOps model. So do you all understand the difference between all these three? So I have introduced what is waterfall model and what is example of that in real time, and also yes, Zainul, welcome. Yeah, Akil, I remember you. Yeah. Okay, and also we discussed about the second model, which is agile model, whereas in DevOps model everything is sequential approach or not. So everything they will do the coding first, and then later they do the deployment, test and deployment, where they're spending a lot of time in the coding stuff, and the deployment will happen after the entire coding is done. So which is not very sufficient or a very good process. Later we have gone through which model? Agile model, where in agile model they will do the code and they will do test, but the deployment will be happening every 2 weeks. What is that every 2 weeks called? Sprints. Online it is put in. What is that called? Sprints. And the collection of sprints we call it as what? Release. What is that? Release. So if you have 4 sprints, and every 4 sprints, so every sprint they'll do the deployment and do the changes, and like this, once the 4 sprints or how many sprints are completed, they will release the product. And then and the client feedback, customer feedback will come every 2 weeks. Is that good? It might be good for something, but this is not a ideal situation where in our product development companies. So this is not a good approach where they have introduced which model? DevOps model. In this DevOps model, what we do now here? We code. We build, we test, and immediately we deploy. We code, we build, we test, and immediately we deploy. So for each and everything deployment happening, and then we'll get to know what kind of errors, and everyone will get alerted. Like who will alert? Developers will be alerted, testers will be alerted, and also operations people, DevOps people also will get alerted, because here any kind of errors they can easily rectify before going to the customer. That was the DevOps model. So this is what we have discussed, and also we have discussed what is DevOps, what exactly the DevOps definitions are, and what the advantages. Using DevOps is very speed or not. So that means the deployment will be speed, and then development will be very rapid, quick releases, and then security, client satisfaction, team collaboration, everything will be under the DevOps model or not. And also additionally, so we have discussed about the DevOps tools. Let me ask you if you remember the tools. Okay. Now from here, from today, it's important. Okay. Remember in our AWS classes, we learn about a lot of basics. No, every day we were learning about the client server, this architectures, and then what else? DNSs, right? Protocols. You're all expert on all these things, and you're already certified also. Good to see you that you're all certified mostly. Right now, let's move on to the actual technical topics, because we don't have any much basics here. Whatever we are learning is basics only, but actually topic. So what are the tools? First of all, repository tools. So which is the tool that where we store the code? GitHub. Everyone put it in the chat, because these tools you should get in your brains. So these tools need to be fixed in your brains. So whenever where you manage the code is where Git or GitHub, where Git or GitHub. So that is called source code management tool. What is it called? Source code management tool, where you store all the code into that repository. What we say here? Repository. Where do we create this repository? In GitHub. So not only GitHub, we have so many different tools. So where, can you tell me, we have something called Bitbucket, SVN tools are there. There are so many different tools, but out of all those tools, which is the most commonly used tool? GitHub. So example, whether I checked this basically, Google Trends. If you go to Google Trends, okay. So here I'll start for watch. Which one? GitHub. Do you see this here? Not only in India, let's take worldwide. I'll give you a real-time thing, how GitHub is used. Do you see this interested all the time? Do you see how much percentage? Mostly, it has been more than 75%, right? So you see how they are using the GitHub since these are all the days only. So not past day, let's say for example, past 12 months, let's take. You see that it is increasing or decreasing? Both. So that meaning here, but it is more than 75% all the time or not? So that means this is the most commonly used tool or not, compared to the rest of the tools. So whichever the tools that you want, you can go and search it here. I think most of the people doesn't know this. Guys, this is a very good tool where you can search which one is used mostly in the market. So what is the tool that I'm using here? Google Trends. What is that? Google Trends. So give me one thing. So let's say Jenkins. We'll talk. So we'll talk. So here, do you see this? Let's go to Jenkins, and do you see this? It has done already 100% or not? So compared to the tools here, these tools are very commonly used. So whichever the tools those are commonly used, that I'll be covering here in our course. Okay. So here also, we have repository tools. Which is the repository that we are using here at the moment? GitHub, number 1. Okay. Next, for build tools. For build tool, which is the tool that we are using? Maven. Everyone put it in the chat now. What is that? Maven. So repository tool is GitHub. Next build tool is what here? Maven. And then after building it, we need to do the code testing or not. Code review needs to be done. So which is the tool that we use for code review in this course? SonarQube. So we will not be going deeper we will not be using as a testing job here. What we do is we will just go and see the review. We'll do this tool, SonarQube tool. We'll go and check the code review. We are not the ones who open the code and check whether how the code has written. We are not the one who should be reviewing it. Because why? We love coding. That's the reason why we are here. Yes. So whenever someone says coding, what will do? We'll show the compiler. Because we don't know about coding. Right? So we don't know anything about the coding. So for that reason here, we are not at all interested in developing the coding and seeing the code. Remember in this course. Right? Except there is a tool called Terraform where we need to do the coding, but this is not like a Java coding or .NET coding. It's a HashiCorp language, which is easily understandable. Okay. Okay. Now. So that is yes. So that is the code review purpose. Which one we are using here? SonarQube. Okay. Now for code deployment purpose, which one we are using here? Jenkins. Which one we are using here? Jenkins. Okay. So code repository, GitHub. Next build. Which one? Maven. Next code review. Which one? SonarQube. Next we need to do the deployment. So which is the tool that we use for the deployment? Jenkins. Say that? Jenkins. So these tools you need to get injected in your brains. For code deployment, which one we use? Jenkins. Which one we use? Jenkins. Okay. So next we have we have used the Jenkins. But the question is where we need to deploy this? So we have the application, right? So Jenkins will take the application and then it needs to go and deploy where? In AWS, in Azure, in GCP, wherever you want to do, you can go and do the deployment. So from Jenkins, you can deploy anywhere. But which is the cloud provider that we are using? AWS. For that reason here, so Jenkins will deploy to AWS. So in AWS, we have different services or not? So you tell me now here. You tell me here. in AWS, where do we go and deploy the applications in general? Which service? EC2, no? We have deployed so many things on EC2 in our AWS classes before, right? So yes, Jenkins will deploy applications on EC2. And that is the previous approaches. Nowadays, microservices came up or not? What is that? Microservices came. So I'll be talking about what is monolithic and microservice when we go into the Docker level, that means microservices level. When we do the containerization, there I'll be talking about difference between monolithic and microservice. But here, I'm telling you, Jenkins will deploy the code to EC2, or Jenkins will deploy the code to Dockers, or Jenkins will deploy the code to Kubernetes. You're getting it? You're getting it now? And then whatever that got deployed in your EC2 or Docker or Kubernetes, who will be using that application? Customers are using that application. And all are different phases or not? All those different phases, now I'll be putting it here technically now. So I have injected you now, there are tools. So now if I ask you the question, source code management, which tool? Everyone, put it in the chat. What is that here? Loaded. GitHub, what is that? GitHub. Build, Maven, and then code review, SonarQube, deployment, Jenkins. Before SonarQube, after the code review happens, artifacts concept will be there. We'll talk when we go deeper. Excuse me. Jenkins will deploy where? In AWS. In AWS, which service? EC2, number one. Next. Dockers. Next. Kubernetes. Okay, now the application has been deployed in these places. Now if you want to do some configuration changes, there should be some tool to do the configuration changes or not? Which is the tool to do the configuration changes? Ansible. Which one here? Ansible. Remember, we have learned this in our last class. So whenever if you want to do the configuration, which tool that you choose? Ansible. Good. Now in AWS, you want to launch EC2 instances. Remember, we have learned a lot about VPCs, RDS, so many things we have learned. If you want to set up the entire VPC, remember CloudFormation, we have set up the VPC or not? With using CloudFormation, we have set up the VPC in our AWS classes. But now that is in AWS. If you want to automate the infrastructure, we have used CloudFormation. But in DevOps, there is a tool where you do the automation of this infrastructure. Which tool is that? Terraform. So this is an interview question. Which is the tool where you can use for automating the entire infrastructure? Which one here? Terraform. So now, whatever things that you have deployed, everything you need to monitor or not? So for monitoring, there are different tools are available. So can you tell me which is the tool that we are covering in this course? Prometheus and Grafana. And also we have different tools also available or not? Like Splunk, Datadog, Nagios. There are so many. But we cannot cover these many tools, right? For that reason, let's select the one tool which is most commonly used nowadays because these are freeware. Open source. Got it? Will you select any tools which is a license version? Are you interested to pay license and then tell me Datadog is license version where I can do that also. But thing is here in our company, in the companies, as they can go for the license bit, that's the reason they go for Datadog or Splunk and all. But here, as we need to go with this free, so-called free things, so we need to choose the open source tools, right? Yeah. Is it clear enough? And all these, if I want to I'm the manager, I want to manage the entire project. Let's say I have Karthik, Pradeep, Vansh, all these people are there, Raju, right? So Suvachu, right? So if I want to give the task, right? I want to give the task. Vansh, set up Jenkins. I forgot Pradeep. Madhu, right? Madhu, you go and set up this. Jaya, you go and set up that. Karthik, you go and set up this. Nana, do I need to write in my diary? Do I need to maintain the diary like all your heroines are maintaining? No, right? So I cannot open my diary and put it here. Today's task, Karthik, you do this and do this. No, everyone should see the diary or not. So the diary is nothing but here in online it is available. So we have tools to manage those tasks. So the most commonly used one is Jira, and we need to go for the open source or not. So we have what is Trello. What is that here? Trello. Now you entire understood the project management now. Huh? So whenever I ask any phase, you need to tell the tool. Should I take a minute and ask for the tools names now? Because I know TF is also there, Slack is also there. There's so many things, communication tools are also there. Okay, let me ask the questions here, and fatafat you need to answer it. Okay, because many of you don't remember the tool names. In interviews, generally they will ask, yes, I'm sharing the screen, but I'm not writing. Okay. In interviews, they will ask this general question: which is the tool that you use for your build purpose? That is how you need to answer. Which one? So in your project, which tool did you use for your source code management? Which one? No problem, because the names you should get habituated. That's the reason why this many times I'm repeating it. Okay. So source code, where do you manage? Nana? GitHub. Where do you manage? GitHub. So which is the code? Which is the tool? Okay. Let me introduce one more tool. Which is the tool where you store artifacts? Okay. So artifacts here meaning. Let me introduce. Now you have done the code review. What is the tool to use for code review? SonarQube. What is the tool that you use for that? SonarQube. So after SonarQube, your code is fresh and clean or not? It is ready to deploy or not? So code meaning here, so the code will be generated in a artifact is nothing but zip file, jar file, war file, ER file. You have exe file, MSI file. These are all the outputs of your artifacts. Your output for your artifacts. So that means, let's say you are installing software in your laptop or not. What is the extension of that software? Exe or MSI file sometimes. Yes or no? Or there are so like this. We have the code, whatever the developers have developed, that is packaged. That is built and packaged in the form of some files. We call it as what? Artifact. That artifact we need to deploy onto the server. Zip file, war file. Java will develop. They will develop Java files, right? So Java files they will do what? War files. So these artifacts, where do you store? There is a separate place for that tool. We call it as Nexus. Say that. Nexus. This is another tool that I'm introducing you. Which one here? Nexus. Say that. You can also another have tool. JFrog is also there. But which one we are using here? Nexus. Say that everyone. Nexus. Now, which is the tool to store the artifacts? Can I ask this question? Which is the service in AWS where they can store the artifacts? Super answer. Which one? S3. Correct. This is how the interview questions will be. Right? So guys, for me it will take few minutes. I will enter into the topic, but I want to clear all your basic things. Right? Okay, good. Okay, which is the code? Which is the tool for infrastructure automation? Terraform. Which is the tool for configuration? Ansible. Which is the tool for containerizations? Docker. Which is the tool for this orchestration? Kubernetes. So which is the tool for code deployment? Jenkins. Understood? This is how you should be. Okay, now. Okay, online, is this clear till here? So whatever that we have discussed now, let me put it into our favorite paint. Okay, so by seeing this paint, even after you are 60 years, you should be able to remember the process. Okay, yeah, your kids, huh? Interested. Okay, now. So who we are here? We have what, Nana? Developers. Who will develop the code? Online cities put it in. Let's be interactive as always. Who will develop the code? Developers will develop the code. Okay, developers will develop the code. Let's say we have few developers. All whatever the Danish didn't forget Roxy. So okay, fine. So developers develop the code. Will they keep the code in their own laptop? if some people know already DevOps, okay, good. Those who don't know anything about it, now tell me, what is the reason if you store, now Jaya is there. So Jaya, she developed a nice Java code. And will she keep that entire code that she has developed for 1 month in her laptop? What if that laptop goes off or hard disk crash? Whatever the effort she puts is lost or not. So is it good to keep it in her laptop in remote place? Remote place. Where is the place? Repository. Where do you create repository? GitHub. That is the answer. Okay. So developers develop the code, and what they do now, they will store the code. Or instead of saying store the code, we use a word called push. Push the code. Say that. Push the code. Or in other words, what we say, commit the code. What we say now? Push or commit. First we need to commit and then push. That process we'll learn. But here, what is the layman language that we are using? Push the code or commit the code. Now tell me, where do you commit the code? Repository. Where? GitHub. Is it only GitHub? No, it can be Bitbucket. It can be GitLab. I'll talk about GitHub. We'll talk when time comes. Right? And then, so there are so many things are there here. But here, which one we are using here? GitHub. This is called SCM. Say that. SCM means what? Source code management. Say that. So I'll write the legends here. SCM. What is SCM? Source code management. So can we say that our GitHub is called source code management? Our GitHub is called source code. Wherever the source code meaning what? The code which is developed by the developer, we call it as source code. That's source code where you are managing in the GitHub. So we have a concept called VCS, version control systems. We'll talk about all these things. You know, right? When time comes, then only I'll take the words. Otherwise, I don't take. So there is some process. Slowly we'll go. Okay, now. So now you know. So now here, developers has pushed the code in the GitHub. Now what will happen? After that, what we need to do? What we need to do? What we need to do? Build. What we need to do? Yes or no? So source code they have written. So they have written the code and she has put it into the repository. And what we need to do as a DevOps engineer? We need to pull the code. What we need to do? Pull the code from where? GitHub. We need to pull the code from the GitHub. And what we need to do? Build the code. What we need to do here? Next step is build. So for build purpose, so what are the tools that we have? Which one here we have? Maven. And what we have here? Ant. We have also Gradle. And there are Microsoft MS Builds also. There are so many things out there. But which one we are using here? Maven. Okay. So build concept here is why we are building it? Because it will install all the dependencies. What is that here? Install all dependencies. So dependence meaning here, let's say Java people have their own libraries, right? And then Node.js people, right? And there are different languages are there or not. So all these they have the dependency libraries and some files will be there, right? All those files need, when it's trying to build, it will people download and install all these required dependency. So we'll build it. So what we do mainly here, add dependencies. Maven meaning, remember, it will add dependencies. Dependencies meaning here what? All the required files and libraries. Understood? Build step. After building it, what we need to do here? Test. After building, what we do? Test. So here, the next thing here, test. So here, basically, our testers will also involve, and then they will use it. So have you heard about Selenium? We are not using it. Hi. So we are not using it, Selenium here, because the core job of testers is to write the test cases. Because in testing, there are so many different types of testings are there or not. Functional testing is there, stress testing is there, smoke testing is there, unit testing is there, right? User acceptance test, UAT testings are there. There's so many different. Do we need to worry about that? No. So testers will take care of all these things. And which tools they use here? Selenium or JUnit, TestNG. So we will. But here, in our case, we will just review that code. And which is the tool that we use for reviewing purpose here? SonarQube. SonarQube. Good. And after testing is done, my code is very clean or not? My code is super clean. As my code is super clean, it will generate after building it. So testing is done on top of it. So it will generate the artifacts or not? It will generate here what here? Artifacts. What is that? Artifacts. So for artifacts, what is the tool that where we are storing the artifacts on here? Nexus. We are storing Nexus. So now Nexus is having all your WAR files or not? WAR files, jar files, ER files, right? So zip files, right? Artifacts, Chandan, artifacts meaning your exe files will be there, no? Zip files will be there, no? So that is collection of files inside it, right? So here, if you want to install anything, will you have different files or only one file? Only one file, no? That is called your artifact. So whatever the Java code they have written, the entire code will be compiled, built, and generated only one single file. And what you do, you take it and deploy it. Once you deploy, what will happen? That will get extracted, and then all the files will come and sit into the server and will be deployed. Okay? Yes, we will be. So here, okay. You're getting, is it clear? So after, yes, correct, Amin. So after we have the artifacts, what we need to do? We need to deploy. What we need to do here? Deploy. So here, deploy. For deployment, guys, we got stuck in artifacts only still. Pratiksha, Ganesh. Okay, see. So, Akhil, so do we need to take paid AWS or free tier? You already have a free tier account or not? You already have a free tier account, right? We can use that free tier account and we'll do the practicals. But like in AWS, maximum, I have skipped your billing. Yes or no? I told you what is the budget? 200. But did it cost 200 till now? No, right? For some people, yes, because you have your own style. Right? But for me, I told you that less than 200. So, but here in DevOps, we will be using few services which will not come under free tier. So for that reason, please expect a little bit of bill there. How much? That's the next question. 200. You guess it? Huh? With 500, you get it. Okay, I would say 1,000 to 2,000 below. Because when I was doing practicals by myself, how much big a teacher it is? First, I need to do and tell you or not. Yes or no? Because before I was designing this DevOps for you, I was doing all the practicals by myself. So on that month, at least I got almost less than 1,900 thing. The same thing I'm telling you, but it might be less also because I did one time, but you might be doing multiple times, right? So please expect a few things, okay? But that's a maximum, Nana. That's a maximum. Okay. Yes, Vivek. Hey, Vivek. Good to see you. Yes, that's correct. All right. Okay. So let's come to the here. Deploy. So for deployment, which is the tool that we are using for deployment? Jenkins. So we are using our favorite Jenkins, which is free, open source, and it's super. Many people are using Jenkins in real time. Not only Jenkins, we have something called, say that, TeamCity, Circle CI. What is that? Circle CI, Bamboo. What is that? Bamboo, BuildBot. Right, BuildBot is there, and GoCD is there, and then IBM Urban Code is there, but I'm not putting all these things. But inside all these things, which one we are interested here? Jenkins. That is for Kubernetes. So that is not is a tool that is in common that we'll be using for everything. But Jenkins is the tool which we use for everything, but Argo CD is especially for a CI/CD tool for Kubernetes. Okay. Now deployment is done or not? Okay, so deployment here, deployment is not done, but using Jenkins, where do we deploy? In AWS. Where do we deploy? In AWS. So we deploy in AWS also. We can deploy in Azure also. We can deploy in GCP also. Which one here we are interested in? AWS. And once you deployed, who will be using all these things? Customer. So here we have the customer. So we have so-called users, so-called customers, so-called clients. Yes, it's our part only, Dinesh. No, is it clear? This is a very technical thing. If whatever that we have learned till yesterday, so I put it simply in our plain format. So by seeing this, you can easily understand what are the phases our DevOps contain and what are the tools that we'll be using it here. Okay, fine. But I did not expand this AWS. In AWS also we have what? EC2, Docker, Kubernetes, but I'll be taking in coming days. So here, but can you tell me here? Now, each and everything is a phase or not? Each and everything is a phase. So you have code is in GitHub, and GitHub needs to be integrated to which tool? Maven. And from Maven, you need to integrate to SonarQube. And from SonarQube, you need to integrate with which tool? Nexus. And Nexus need to integrate with which tool here? Jenkins. So you are continuously, what you're doing? Integrating or not? And this is called what? Continuous integration process. So called CI. Generally, people will say CI/CD, continuous integration, blah, blah. But I'm showing you in front of your eyes what is CI. Okay? As I told you, if you make a non-IT person sitting in DevOps, I make him understand. You're able to understand, right? Yes. So this is called CI. So till here, we call it a continuous integration. After that, what you're doing it? You are deploying where? In AWS. So this is called continuous deployment. Continuous. Where are you deploying? In AWS. In AWS, what are the services that we have to deploy? EC2 is there. Kubernetes is there. Docker is also there. So generally, I'll be talking about in coming days, but to let you know a little bit more here, in AWS, we have EC2, right? What we do, we will launch EC2. And then inside that EC2, we'll install Docker. Inside EC2, we install Docker. Inside the Docker, we create what? Containers. What we create on here? Containers. So here, in that containers, we will be deploying our application. Listen carefully. So we have EC2. We will launch, which one we launch? But which is the service that we are using here? EC2. In EC2, we are installing the Dockers manually. We are installing the Dockers manually, and we are managing the Dockers manually. We are manually maintaining the containers inside it. So if that EC2 instance goes down, Docker will happen. What will happen to Docker? Gone or not? Can you have auto scaling on that? No, right? EC2 instance, Docker engine is there inside it. It is not an application. It's an engine. You cannot have auto scaling like how we have done in AWS, like application auto scaling. No. You need to maintain that EC2 instance somehow. But you know clearly that EC2 instance, if any chance, it might go down. If you go down, whatever the containers inside that EC2, all the containers also will go down. If the containers go down, whatever we have inside the applications also will go down. So is it good to use Docker's engines manually on EC2? That is the people are using at the moment in the real time. So in the real time, what they are doing is they are setting up the EC2 instance and managing the Docker engine manually inside the EC2 instance. I'll be showing you that also. Okay, now you can ask, sir, one EC2 instance is there. You can have a concept called cluster. What is that? What is cluster? Collection of servers. So you have one Docker. Instead of having Docker engine only on one EC2, you can have Docker engine on multiple EC2s, and you can form that as a cluster. So that means maximum how many EC2s you can have? 2 or 3. But 3 machines. Anytime anything can happen to the 3 machines or not. So just in case if something goes on with the 3 machines, your entire infrastructure is collapsed. Which infrastructure? Microservices infrastructure is collapsed. For that reason, you tell me now, setting up Docker engine manually, maintaining by yourself inside the EC2 instance is a good approach? No. So that is how in real time people are using at the moment. So for that reason, AWS came up with a service called ECS. What is it here? ECS, Elastic Container Service. Whereas you no need to install the Docker engine. You just create the containers directly into the ECS service. Everything is managed by AWS. You tell me now, will you go with the Docker engine manually or ECS? That is the next level. Generally, wherever you go in the DevOps, they will teach till where? Docker. But here we are extending to ECS. Good or not? Say thank you. Yeah. Okay, but you understand the overall coming things? Okay. Similarly, not only in ECS, similarly, can you have your application running on Kubernetes also or not? But you need to install Kubernetes on the EC2 instance. You need to install, you say whatever I told you for the Docker, similarly, but in Kubernetes you have a concept called cluster. So, but maximum how many clusters you can have, how many nodes you can have in one cluster? 2 or 3 or 4. But those are all machines are also not. Anytime that mission goes to maintenance mode by AWS, all the pods will be, sorry for using the pod. So all the applications will be moving to other server, but still you are managing it or not. But if you don't want to manage it, there is a service from AWS. EKS. What is that? EKS. What is that? Elastic Kubernetes Service. So in our course, I'll be teaching you how to set up Kubernetes manually on the EC2 instance, and how to make a cluster on the EC2 instance, how to deploy, how to do auto scaling inside it, and also how to use EKS. Also, I'll be teaching you. That is point. You understand? So here, continuous deployment. I stopped by writing AWS. In AWS, what are the things we have? EC2, ECS, EKS, and ECS also we have a concept called Fargate. We will talk about it. So these are all the things will be inside the. Okay, fine. So what are these called? This is called continuous deployment. Continuous deployment meaning whatever the artifacts that you got, Jenkins is going and deploying on your EC2, Dockers or ECS, EKS or Dockers or Kubernetes continuously, automatically. That is called continuous deployment. Got it? Okay, now developer has developed some kind of code. Customer came to you and said, hey, I need that feature. So developer has developed the new feature. What feature? New feature. But the customer doesn't want in this product immediately. He already told to you saying that develop this feature, keep it with you. Whenever I say okay, then only go and deploy. So here, developer will develop the code, they'll push it into the GitHub, it will build and it will test, artifact is generated with the new feature or not. But is it good to deploy? Is it good to deploy? No. For that reason, what I'm doing is I am saving that artifact separately. I'm not deploying it. What I'm doing, save artifacts and deploy later. Oh, manually when required. And this will be deployed where in AWS. You know what is this called? Anyone? This is called continuous delivery. Many people will confuse between continuous deployment and continuous delivery. This is the actual concept. So continuous deployment meaning you are continuously deploying, automatically deploying into the server. But whereas continuous delivery meaning you are not deploying it automatically, you are deploying it manually when required. That is called continuous delivery. This is approach clear, guys? Online is this clear enough? Clear? Now first this basic should be perfect. Then we'll go to each and every tool and we'll learn. Is it clear? Any questions on clear? So continuous delivery is here manual. Very good. Okay. Okay. See here. Now these are all phases or not? These are all phases. Developers develop the code. Now let's say for example what happens is developers develop the code, and what they do is they push it into the GitHub. Will you be there watching with your big eyes in GitHub when the code will get uploaded? Tell me. No, right? Because whenever the developer has developed the code, what he do? He push it to the GitHub or not? That meaning he's done. Commit kar diya sala. What they have done, he has committed. So he has committed to the GitHub. That meaning he's done with the code. And from there, whose responsibility is that? Our responsibility. Ours meaning here, no more AWS engineers. But these 2 months you are DevOps engineers. DevOps engineers. So it is your responsibility now to take the code. So will you take the code manually? No. So here, what is happening is whenever developer has pushed the code to the GitHub, automatically this Maven need to pick up. And from Maven will pick up. And then Maven will immediately build it. And then SonarQube will test it. Is it manually or automatically? Automatically. See here, whenever the code has been pushed here, automatically build will happen. Automatically test will happen. Automatically artifacts will generate. Automatically Jenkins will take it and automatically will deploy to AWS servers. So to do this automatically, we need to create something called pipeline. What is that called? Pipeline. Then here, CI we have learned. And then this is what? This is CD. And if you want to mix these two, we call it as CI/CD pipeline. What is this pipeline contains? Integrating multiple tools. If you're integrating multiple tools, so we call it as here CI/CD pipeline. So here, what you need to do, Nana, here. So who is the guy? Let me tell. But you have learned all these things, right? Can you tell me who is the guy who is integrating all these things here? A DevOps engineer. But which tool is integrating? I didn't say this, but you tell me here which tool is integrating. Fantastic answer. Which tool here? Jenkins is the guy who is integrating your GitHub, Maven, SonarQube, Nexus. Who is integrating? Jenkins is integrating. That's why Jenkins is called continuous integration server. Integration server. Jenkins is what called? In real time, when you go to the jobs, they will use this word called, we have integration server. That means what? You give him a slap and say, call as Jenkins server. No, why are you using that much fancy words? But I need to introduce that fancy words to you also because you need to know integration server meaning it is Jenkins server. Got this? Online getting it? Now what is Jenkins server will do? In Jenkins, what it will do? It will do the code compile or not? It will do the code compile and it will, what it will? It will build it. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's not use these words. In Jenkins, what you do? Get the code from where? From where? Tell me online. Get the code from GitHub. After that, what you do? Excellent. It will do build. After that, it will do test. After what it will do? Artifacts. After that, what will do? Deploy. What we do here? Deploy. Understood? This is the job of Jenkins. Got it? Clear enough here? Now you all understood the whole thing of what the DevOps will do. So from GitHub, from this to end, the job of DevOps is doing this CI/CD pipelines. So if something goes wrong on the server, if server is not reachable, if server EC2 instance is not there, that is responsible by the DevOps engineer? Answer is no. Who is responsible? Who is the AWS engineer? You actually. So here, so I think, so SRE is also there. SRE is nothing but who is maintaining the infrastructure. So you're also infrastructure people or not? So before a few months, what you guys are? AWS engineers, that means infrastructure guys. So here you are, the complete responsibility is yours here in the course. But in the real time, whenever you go to the real time, actually in real time, you don't have that much of freedom to go and clarify EC2 instances until unless you are a AWS DevOps engineer. If you're Chumma DevOps engineer, what you do? Simply create a pipeline. What you do? Simply create a pipeline. Pipeline you create one time. Ask DevOps to developer, where is your code? What you say? GitHub, get that repository. And the Maven tool, one command is there, 3 words are there. Maven clean package, so 3 words are there. Write it in pipeline, right? And then here test SonarQube is there, 2-3 lines code where you integrate to the SonarQube server. And then whatever, so you don't need to generate a zip file war files. Who will generate? Or Maven will generate. Maven is the one who is building it, right or not? So Maven will generate the artifact. Artifact will sit in the Jenkins server or Nexus. And Jenkins server will take the artifacts and then deploy into the server. Create this and then relax. DevOps engineer job is that. Real fact. So if pipeline fails, And if you say that in pipeline in Jenkins, you'll get an error saying that cannot able to connect to the server. It is your responsibility. Call AWS engineer saying that the server is not reachable or SRE people. So they will make you the connection, and then your pipeline will work as it is when the server connection is restored. But in this course, you are the whole responsibility on the server also, deployment also, pipeline also, troubleshooting errors, everything you should learn. For that reason, here it is not only DevOps, it is AWS DevOps. You understand the differences now? Okay. So yeah, exactly. I'll stop it here. Okay. Tension nahi lene ka. Okay, aram se. We'll go slowly as usual, right? And I'll take the questions now. But you understand, in one shot, you have this, and okay, let me take a question. Do we learn Linux also? As I told you, I'll be teaching you Linux also. Linux will start in next year. Right? Dinesh gave AWS DevOps Doctor new award. I like you guys. Yeah. Don't leave the class until I say online. I have few things to say. Is it clear and clear? Understood? Any doubts? Online? Any doubts? Experienced Java developer can learn this. Of course, no one will stop Somalika. You can learn. So maximum, I don't leave any doubts as usual, but just in case if you have any doubts, please ask. And who is your admin? Mr. Akhil is your admin. So as you know, Danish, please contact Akhil. He will share you outline. And guys, please complete all your enrollments. There is nothing new for you to tell all these things. So you're all my old students, right? So, but okay, tomorrow. So Dinesh is asking, sir, ECR tells us just brief like ECR. Okay, so good. I told you about ECS. Okay, Dinesh, good. Let me take the question. What is ECS in a full form? Online put it in that Elastic Container Service. EKS. Remember in EC2, we have learned about images concept. What is image? Copy of OS we have learned. But here, these applications that whatever you create, you will also bundle as an image. But here, it's not like EC2 AMI. So Docker has images. There is a website called Docker Hub. I don't want to talk about all these things here now at the moment. So Docker Hub, if you go today if you can open your mobiles and then search for Docker Hub, where it contains all the Docker images. What images? If you want to launch an EC2 instance, we need to have image or not. Similarly, if you want to create a container from Docker here, which one from where do you create? Through the image you need to create. Through the what? Image. All these things in Docker I'll talk. As someone asked the question, I'm telling you. But here, as I'm using ECS and EKS, we need to store the images or not. Docker will store the images in Docker Hub separately. But whatever the images that where do we store in our AWS? There is a service called ECR. Say that. What is ECR? Registry. Elastic Container Registry. So whatever the containers that you are creating, you will be creating to the image also, right? So with that images, where do you store in AWS? ECR. Don't worry, I'll teach you like how I have taught you today. I'll inject all these things in coming days. Okay. Thank you, Dinesh. Okay. Shakil, sir, will you teach AWS basics to advanced topic in this course? Shakil, no. I'll not be teaching AWS in depth here. If you want my AWS and DevOps AWS in depth, morning 9 o'clock batch I have started. Please contact your admin. So he will help you to reach there. Komala is asking, sir, continuous deployment is automated process. Then how continuous delivery will come into picture? So here we have concept. Whenever anything happens in the GitHub, automatically this will go and deploy. DevOps is all about automation. But if you don't want to do this automatically, because when it's a developer, he will develop and push the code in GitHub. That doesn't mean everything should go and deploy. There are few additional features that he will deploy, he will say create or develop, and he want to keep it aside. And in this release, in this sprint or in this release, they don't want to release that new feature. They can create a separate warfare and keep it aside or not. Komala. For that reason, keep it aside and taking that and whenever required manually delivering to the customer is called continuous delivery. Kundan Kumar, any projects? Oh, I showed you on day one. There are so many projects that will be doing it. So many projects, real-time projects. So check my Akhil, my first day class. I have mentioned all the things. Where Jenkins means where the application is released. Yes, ready to release. So guys, online, do you see this day one and day two? That is my previous recordings here, which we have conducted a couple of days back. Go through my first day class where I have showed you what are the projects that it has included in this course. Clear enough? And okay, let me ask here again, everyone. How about tomorrow? Do you need class as it is December 31st?